So a little birdie told me that you are wanting to manifest your dream life. That's why you clicked on this video. Cool. Well, I'm going to tell you how I manifested my dream life, and I don't think it's going to be like other manifestation videos that you've watched before. It's going to be quite real and honest, and it's not going to be me telling you to write something down 100 times or magic word formula and then everything's going to work out and then everything is going to be peaches and cream, because that's not how life works. And I just want to be so honest in my path and what I did to be able to live the life I live now and wake up every single day and call myself an artist, which is, you know, what I've always wanted. I hope you enjoy this video. If you're new here, my name is Karissa Love. It is so nice to meet you. This is now my second time filming this video because my microphone was off the first time. So I hope I hit all of the points that I hit the first time. My approach to manifestation is definitely different than the manifestation gurus here on YouTube or even on TikTok, and a lot of them will sell you on the idea that there is some kind of special formula or like secret code to crack the code of the universe and get everything you want. And honestly, I disagree. As someone who literally practices magic, like, I say this with my whole chest, I don't think it's as cut and dry as, oh, just do A, B, and C and you'll get what you want. Of course, I will say that witchcraft has aided me in finding what I want in life, and it's been a real comfort to me. It's a way for me to hone in on my desires. I would say that manifesting or following your own unique path takes really just one. You just need one skill. You need one specific skill, although I have written down a few points for you guys today. You need one skill, and that skill is to be able to ignore your fear. That is the most important lesson I've learned in this process of manifesting my dream life, is to ignore my fear. Fear does not exist in my universe. If I'm scared of something, I will do it anyway. I'm actually more likely to do it if I'm a little bit afraid. But before we get into the rest of the video and the points I have here that I'd like to make to you guys, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, in case you didn't know. If you have never seen me before, you've never watched my videos before, I want to give you a little backstory on where I started versus where I am now today. So I moved to Los Angeles a year ago, like about a year ago. I moved here April of 2023 and now it's May, so yeah, it's been over a year now, which is crazy. That's such a crazy concept. Time is truly not real, you guys. And it was always my dream to move out of my small farm town in Florida, and it was always my dream to wake up every day and be able to create, to live my life as an artist, as I like to say, to be spontaneous, to wake up and have every single day look a bit different. And I used to work a customer service job. I worked for my dad, and I worked at a desk, chained to a desk, 40 hours a week, answering phones. Absolutely no creativity there. Was not authentic to me at all. I was quite depressed. I didn't love my life, and I had finally had enough. After working there for over 6 years, I finally had enough one day and quit, and I never looked back, and I've just chosen myself ever since then. And you know, that is actually one of my first points, is the only thing I did in order to achieve the life I have now and to have been able to move across the country and do content creation full-time and to be a full-time poet is to literally just do it. Like, you just have to do it. You just have to take a leap of faith and trust that there's going to be a safety net there that will catch you, that the universe will always catch you. There's been so many instances in my specific journey where I have had no idea where I was going to end up. I've had no idea where I was going to be, what things were going to look like, and I took that leap of faith anyway. Like when I moved across the country, for example, this apartment that I'm in was originally an Airbnb that I had rented out, and as it turned out of all the Airbnbs, I chose this one, right? And I rented it out for like 3 months, And my plan was to secure a different apartment in the 3 months that I was staying in this Airbnb. But as it turns out, my host of my Airbnb was actually looking for long-term renters and ended up becoming my landlord, and I didn't have to move at all. So I booked this Airbnb without knowing that. I had a completely different plan. I had a totally different plan, and it actually worked out even better than I expected. And that's exactly what's going to happen if you choose to walk your authentic path, if you choose to follow your desires. Things are going to happen and work out, and lessons will be learned in ways that you least expected. So try not to be so rigid in your desires, in the way things will come to life, because it will come to life in ways that you don't expect. I also want to reiterate that my dream life, and this differs from a lot of other like manifestation gurus here on YouTube, but my dream life specifically has had nothing to do with material. It's had nothing to do with money. It's had nothing to do with where I live. Well, where I live in the sense of the city I live in, but the type of house I'm living in. Like, I'm living in a studio apartment, and I've been driving the same car since I was 16 years old, and I'm happier than I have ever been. Detaching from materialistic belongings and the idea of money has also made it a lot easier for me to be happy and to be able to confidently say that I'm living my dream life despite any materialistic situations, right? Because my desires were desires of the soul rather than desires of the flesh. And if I could give you some advice, it would be to use your desires as guidelines. Recognize that your desires are guidelines, but also recognize where your desires are coming from. Are they coming from validation of others, to be approved of by other people, or are they coming from your soul? Is it something you truly want? Is it coming from an authentic place, something that will give you long-term happiness, right? Recognizing your desire as a guideline rather than as a concrete idea. So a lot of manifestation gurus here on YouTube will say things like, be super specific in what you want. And to be honest, I somewhat disagree with that sentiment, because I think that we have a loose idea of what we want, but sometimes the universe or spirit guides or God or however you refer to spirit has an even better plan for you in mind that your human consciousness can't even comprehend. Like, for example, for the longest time, I was trying to manifest being a published author, a published poet. I wanted physical copies of my books, and I wanted them in Barnes & Noble, and I wanted to go through a big publisher, and I had all of these ideas for what I wanted specifically. And then somewhere along the way, I figured out what I actually wanted was to do something with spoken word poetry, to create a poetry album that is so much more in line with my personal artistic vision and path. And I didn't figure that out until I started to try to go down that path, and it felt like God literally took me and was like, actually, like, I know that's what you think you want, but this is so much better. And I was steered in this other direction that actually makes way more sense for me. I'm going to be discussing my poetry album and answering some of your questions about it next week on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so that you don't miss any videos that I upload. But yes, I'm going to be discussing that more next week. I will often talk to spirit or talk to God. Also, you know, if you're new here, I'm very spiritual, and a lot of my advice videos are through a very spiritual lens. I kind of view the world through a spiritual lens. I don't know if it's because of all of my Aquarius placements or the fact that I have a 12th house stellium. There's probably some explanation for it, but everything, I see everything through a very spiritual lens. Not quite sure why. So my next piece of advice is to talk to nature, talk to spirit, talk to an older, wiser being, as Sylvia Plath once said. I will so often, so often, I will go out to a favorite nature spot of mine, or I don't know, I'll go outside, even just being under the sun. I'll talk to the sun, I'll talk to the moon, I'll talk to the trees, I'll talk to the breeze, I'll talk to nature a lot, because I believe that spirit and God and nature, it's all intertwined and we are connected to it. Like we are connected to the earth. And I have had the most success in manifesting my dream life by simply just asking for what I want. Like you can't expect to get what you want if you don't ask for it. Manifestation and prayer are also a lot alike. So I guess you could call this prayer, but I'll go outside and, for example, I'll lean against a tree and I'll just really ground myself into my body and be present and be like, okay, Spirit, these are the things that I'm afraid of. This is what I'm afraid of with this manifestation. This is what I'm afraid is not gonna work out. I'll tell my fears to Spirit. I'll just let them take it from me, and I'll air it out as if it's a therapist, like truly. And I'll be like, this is what I'm afraid of. This is what I want to happen. These are my desires. This is the million different scenarios I've thought of in my head, and I will talk and talk and talk. It's so interesting that whenever I do that, it feels like almost immediately things are delivered to me that are going to aid me in the process of manifesting that specific thing, whether it be a new friendship or a sum of money even, or advice, or like sometimes I'll hear Spirit talk through strangers. Like there was this one instance where I was talking about the poetry album to Spirit. I was like leaning against a tree and chatting like I usually do, and I went to a coffee shop afterwards and the barista said something to me very specific that I really needed to hear in that moment, and it really felt as if God was speaking through that person. Really talk to Spirit like they are your best friend, and you would be surprised at the responses that you get. Like you will get a response in ways that you don't expect. Just keep your ears and eyes open. My next piece of advice, and this is arguably one of the most important, you may not get exactly what you want, but you will get what makes you better. There has been so many instances in my life. Also, keep in mind with content creators, like I know on this side of things, you know, I exist in your computer, I exist in your phone, and I only show one facet of myself, but through the process of me moving to Los Angeles and doing content creation and being an artist and making friendships and all the things that have come with the intentional choice of changing my life, I have had so many setbacks, obstacles, people giving me a hard time, like especially with being on the internet, and it has always taught me something. I've always come out the other side of it a bit stronger. It has always made me a better person. So yeah, I've absolutely have had challenges. I think the key is to shift your perspective on those challenges, and I've talked about that before on this channel. If I have some kind of trial or tribulation, I like to think of it as like, oh, this means something really exciting is about to happen. I'm about to learn something that's going to help me in my path. Like really changing that perspective. And like I was saying, to not be so rigid. I feel like being so rigid in what you want also like breeds a lot of disappointment. So it's been a lot of trial and error for me of how I manifest things, but truly just talking to Spirit, asking for it, airing out your feelings, and trying to ignore your fear to the best of your ability and make choices out of love rather than out of fear. And that is something I have said since my very first video on YouTube. Was one of the first things I said, that I wanted to live a life of love. My name is Karissa Love, which is not my real name. I don't know if y'all knew that. Karissa is my real name, but Love is a chosen name. And I chose it very intentionally because I want to live my life that way. I lived my life in fear for so long, and there was a reason for that, and we'll get into it in the next point. My next point is surround yourself with truly supportive people. One of the reasons why it took me what felt like so long. I mean, I'm still young, but I didn't move out of my hometown until I was 24. And all throughout school, I told myself the minute I turn 18, I'm out of here. I am leaving. And I didn't. And a lot of that was fear holding me back. But that fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from the people I was surrounded with in that moment of time that projected a lot of their insecurities onto me and a lot of their fears onto me. And the deal is, if you're surrounded by people that are constantly giving you an unwarranted opinion or are constantly being negative towards you in some way, shape, or form, you are going to believe what they're saying. And that was another reason why I had to leave that job if I wanted to be a full-time artist, because I was met with so many opinions, so much fear-mongering, and it was really affecting my art, and it was really affecting me and my mental health. And if you are surrounded by those energy vampires, for lack of a better word. I know it's not realistic for every single person to like cut people out of your life, especially if it's a family member, but at least try to hold those negative people at arm's length if you can. Also, I want to say that I think a big factor in me being able to change my life in this way was practicing the art of silence. Like, I don't tell people my plans unless I really, really trust them. Only people that truly support you should have the privilege of getting to know you, your sweet wishes of your heart, your desires. Only the people that you know are going to be supportive are who you should tell. The art of silence is incredibly important if you're going through a big life change. Just make sure, if you can, to surround yourself with people that are going to truly uplift you and give you words of encouragement. Even if it's on the internet, I hope my channel can serve as a positive space for you to manifest your dream life. One of my last points that I jotted down here was the previous door must be fully closed before a new one can open. I could not say that I was a full-time artist until I quit my previous job and became a full-time artist. Like I was saying, sometimes you just have to make the choice. If you want to be a singer, sing. If you want to be a painter, paint. I will say though, there was some semblance of logic there. Like, I didn't just quit my job on a whim. Like, I did save up a lot of money before I did that. But figure out your exit plan. If you're in a situation where you're not liking the person you're becoming and you're not living an authentic life and you're feeling quite miserable, figure out your exit plan and then exit. And you will see, I promise you, this has happened to me more times than I can count. Even in my relationship with Caleb, like, you're not gonna meet your soulmate if you're in a relationship with someone that is not your soulmate, right? You have to close those doors that you know are not meant for you. And I know it's scary. I know it's scary, but that goes back to my first point of trusting that the universe will always, always catch you, and that fear is just that. It's fear. It has no power unless you give it power. You know, I've really prided myself on perfecting the art of jumping into new things, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes practice to see your fear as nothing, as unimportant. And then once you close that door, you will be so surprised at what comes in for you. It has shocked me every time. I'm like, oh wow, so that was the final puzzle piece before I got what I wanted. I just had to literally cut that person off or quit that job or move to this place. So those are my best manifestation tips for you guys today. I hope that helped you in some way. I hope you learned something new, and I hope that you feel inspired to choose yourself today. And I hope you feel inspired to start taking those baby steps towards your dream life. And a lot of people will, I've seen memes of myself, of people being like, she literally manifested her dream life, and I promise you that it was no one special way to do it. And it's one of the questions I get asked the most of, how did I do it? How did you do it? I just did it. You just have to do it and trust that. Trust yourself. Have an unwavering faith in your own desires. But I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week with a new video. I'm going to be discussing my poetry album next week and answering all your questions about it, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of the story behind it and my intentions with it and everything like that. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you the next time. Bye!